All right, welcome to Problem Solver Politics. We are live in the KHTS studio. I am your host, Cardon Ellis, with
Mark Murphy, attempting to restore civility to the political conversation, but we break the rules.
Oh, wait. We cut you out there for a second. Say that one more time. That's great, Logan.
Restoring civility to the political conversation, but we break the rules.
All right. We have got an incredible guest in studio with us today. We have a street artist by the name of Galt, who is part of the faction, the guys that just did the hit, if I get the vernacular correctly, on Bill Maher's billboard this week, and the guy that totally trolled all the liberals by replacing the Donald Trump star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. His name is Galt. Galt, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we got a wild show right here. We're skipping the monologue. We're skipping the news. We're saving that for second block because
the government is shut down.
Yeah, we're skipping the shutdown talk. We're going to argue about all of that later, and we're going to front load the show with this interview because we love people with guts. Both me and Mark love people with guts.
Because he's just not on the far right. I'm seeing some left creeping in on his work.
So we love people. This is something that me and Mark totally agree on. Fist bump, Mark. For those of you that aren't watching on Facebook Live, we just fist bumped. I'm bringing him up into the 21st century.
What is a fist bump?
Yeah. So anyway, we love people with guts that push the envelope. And what you are doing, Galt, is gutsy. So really quick, introduce yourself to the audience. Just tell us a little bit about you and what you are working on right now.
I'm a lifelong Los Angeles native and been a conservative my whole life. You know, never went to the left. Just kind of grew up on, personal responsibility and accountability.
Wow, so racist.
Yeah, I know.
No,
I know.
just a personal accountability. Wow.
So fascist.
Yeah,
It's too
so
bad
fascist.
the party has drifted away from him.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of a lot of the Republicans, but and I just got tired of what was going on, in the media and all the lying, and I agree with Andrew Breitbart that the media is the enemy, not the left. So I thought I would start jamming up the culture and linked up with a few friends that had the same beliefs, and we started doing it about 2 years ago.
All right. So the comedians that wrote South Park have a quote that I 100% believe in. That Cody, you might have to bail me out on this one because you know quotes better than I do. But what's the quote again?
I don't believe it's an exact quote. However, it was Matt Parker and Trey Stone. They were asked, I think at a press conference, and they basically said the only way to be a punk rock in LA is to be a Republican or a conservative.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree with that.
So the only way to be punk rock in Los Angeles is to be a conservative, and this guy is doing some seriously gutsy work. You got to check out the Facebook Live feed because while we were speaking here, we're going to show a video of the hit that brought that brought Galt to my attention. Can you describe a little bit about the Donald Trump star hit? This is sheer guts and genius all mixed into one. Talk a little bit about this.
So we just got tired of seeing what people were doing to the star in the Walk of Fame. They'd go there and you got George Lopez who's fake pissing on it, and people hitting with the pickaxe. I had friends that would show up there just to kind of take pictures or go support the president, and they would get in fights and get jumped by people, and we got tired of it. Oh yeah, it happens all the time. So I gotta I do printing, it's what I do, and so I figured we make some replicas, and the way that we built them, in Photoshop and Illustrator, you couldn't, from 3 feet away, you couldn't tell they weren't real.
And I have to attest to this, guys. If you cannot watch us on the Facebook live stream, he printed out, we are talking to the millimeter copies of the terracotta pinkish looking Hollywood Walk of Fame stars, and Donald Trump's got one. All the big stars have one. Tourists come from all over the world to come and take a picture next to their favorite star, but they never touch the Kevin Spacey star. They don't touch the Rob Reiner star. They don't touch any of those, but Donald Trump's gets defaced, at least on the weekly.
They're not defacing it. They're simply burnishing it because we as Galt has so firmly pointed out, we have a star. The Hollywood establishment is running Washington, D.C.
Well, no one wanted to destroy the star until he ran as a Republican. He wasn't a racist until he ran as a Republican. He wasn't a fascist. He wasn't a Nazi. everyone loved him. He was getting awards.
We thought he was a Democrat.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was pretty like kind of center left or right leaning left, and no one had a problem with him. He got all these black awards and Rosa Parks awards, and Jesse Jackson loved him. But the moment he drifted away from the left wing narrative,
I thought he opened his mouth, is what I heard.
Yeah, but he had been opening his mouth for how long, and everyone loved him. So
well, yeah, but he was a star then. Now he was the man.
Well, yeah, So you're kind of highlighting the double standard. If you if he would have ran as a Democrat, he wouldn't have been called a racist. He wouldn't have been called a Nazi. No way.
Yeah,
wouldn't have happened.
Probably not, but I just can't put the narrative together that what we saw, whether or not this was his inner soul coming out, his inner being that came out, or whether or not people started listening to what he was actually saying. Because we hear a lot of stuff from Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
He's Hollywood. So I don't know why we always think Hollywood's left. Hollywood's individuals who just happen to have opinions, and he surely does, but now he's in the White House.
Hollywood is super far left.
It's not. We say that, but look who's in the White House. Hollywood star himself.
There's one.
Wait, no, but he's in the White House in spite of Hollywood. He's not because of Hollywood. This isn't the 50s when it was, Reagan. I mean, Ben Shapiro did a book on this where he put on a Harvard hat and emailed all the heavy hitters in Hollywood and went around, saying, "Oh, I just left school," and he interviewed them, and they didn't know he was a conservative. And they openly admitted, almost all of them, that we push down right-leaning ideas. We only push forth the left. It's an echo chamber. And I'm not. They're entitled to do that. That's fine.
All right. So here's my question.
Because it's a swing back from before in the 50s, like you said, when it was the other way.
Agreed.
And you couldn't even speak and admit that you'd gone to possibly a Communist Party meeting without getting yourself thrown out. Mm-hmm. So I think we just seen a pendulum.
Well, I think, but there's when you got 150 million dead, count of dead bodies from communism, I can understand why people reacted that way.
I do too. Yeah, I spent some time observing them on the wall. That was fun. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, we know how good they are.
So I'm getting some comments on my Facebook feed here. People are frustrated that they can't see the face of our guest. Yeah, we forgot to announce that. That's actually on purpose. We have aligned the cameras so you cannot see him.
You guys can just pretend that you can see my face. I'm ugly, so it doesn't even matter.
He's actually behind a screen. This makes it even more fun.
Yeah, I'm mangled. I look like the Elephant Man. That's why you guys don't want to see it. I'm busted.
Yeah, also we're trying to maintain the anonymity of your existence right now. So anyway, what was... I was talking with Dave Rubin last week, and I loved the interview. I asked him, I said, in your transformation from going to left to, less than left, but right enough that he only gets invited to right-wing things.
He's on the right now, for sure.
Yeah, that's what I say too. But me and him are both gluttons for punishment, saying that we're liberals, classical liberals, But there's been multiple kind of moments in his life where he recognizes that was like the seminal moment where I switched my thought process.
That's when he got bludgeoned by Larry Elder.
Yeah, I read that one. There was the Larry Elder interview, and then there was also
his brain with just facts.
Yeah,
black murder. It was awesome.
Those facts were pretty tough to deal with, but that was his seminal moment. Okay, and he said something that I love. That I actually went home and I made a little bit of my own art out of it. Now it hangs on the side of my wall above my fish tank. He said, "Get brave now," and that was his advice to anyone who wants to have activism on the side of rational thinking. Now, do you have a seminal moment? Do you have a seminal moment where you thought, okay, I'm going from being just a dude that's got a cool job in LA. You said you worked in fabrication or in cars previously. Did you have a seminal moment where you thought, okay, I need to apply my talents, especially these creative talents, to do street art? Because street art is its own subversive, attention-grabbing. There's a reason why we all know who Banksy is. It's a unique form of art and a very unique slot in the political conversation. So do you have a seminal moment that led you to becoming who you are now?
I had wanted to do it going back to like probably 2012, right around the time Breitbart died, 2013. And I wasn't able to link up with the right people until about early 2017. And what had me, step up in the arena and start traveling and doing this stuff is I just saw the way the left was turning on people like Antifa, Also, they would show up and throw bricks at people and, beat people up and spray them with pepper spray. And the media just lies. The media calls them,
were
anti-fascist activists.
Yeah.
And I got tired of it. So you just got to go out there in the streets. I mean, what are you going to do?
Okay, so describe some of these hits you've done. By the way, for anybody that's listening that's not familiar with the term, which I just got familiar with it myself, a hit, in air quotes, means, describe a hit. What's a hit?
I don't know. I mean, I guess, I don't know if all street artists call it this. I don't know all that many, but the few of us on the right that do it, if we're gonna do a hit, it's a project. We're gonna hit something. We're gonna go mob something. So we just ended up calling it that.
Well, give us an example. What you did with the Gillette ad, I think, is just beautiful creativity. And I
Mm-hmm.
was in Procter & Gamble advertising.
Yeah.
And so for me to see this is like, this is just pure genius.
Can we throw that up, Cody?
Yeah, you got to throw that up because that to me is a hit.
So
now, am
that's-
I right? Is that
Well, okay,
project?
well,
Because that's
well,
a bigger project.
That one we didn't put that on the streets. We just dropped that one, kind of into the media, out into social media. One of my good friends who works with me on this stuff, he's a creative guy. He's a Hollywood guy. He's a writer and super undercover. And he came up with that a couple days ago. And it just kind of showcases just this double standard with Gillette. They have, I shouldn't say double standard, but it's a double-edged sword for them because I don't know what, probably 90% of their customer base are probably men shaving their faces.
Yeah.
And then they go out
Or
there
when my
and
wife steals it because she likes the Mach 3 better, but now I have to do the
Used to
Quattro.
be. I think it's probably closer
Yeah.
to 60-40
yeah,
now,
when you
but-
go out there and basically
Yeah.
imply that they're all misogynist, rapey pigs who want to, what do they think? It's nonsense. Men don't run around acting that way, and if they do, they just get pushed to the side. They don't have happy, successful lives. They get alienated.
Well, I do have a concern about this new strange manipulation of all these terminologies. For example, like everything's toxic masculinity now, and I think I don't know a single toxically masculine person. Like Mark is great.
I use those blades,
Yeah.
by the way. But I do have a concern. I think people should know what happened is Gillette took a lot of their previous advertising format and even some of the advertising material, and they added in language and shifted it so that it pretty much was attempting to shame men into
Of course.
trying to behave a certain way. And even being right of Attila, I could see a guy on the left of Attila, both looking at this going, I'm confused. I don't understand this commercial.
Yeah, it's like I don't even know anyone that acts that way. It's just
it
stupid.
didn't
but,
fit. But you had fun with it because of the way you labeled the blades, you hit it hard. Some of it was maybe a little bit on the obscene side, but bluntly, I laughed all the way through every line.
Yeah.
And so I have to tell you, it struck me as you exposed the hypocrisy of what was being done.
A lot of what we're doing is we're basically using memes to kind of undermine the culture. It slips it in, because with these memes, boom, they get in instantly and they make a point. A picture's worth 1,000 words, probably a meme's worth 1,000,000 words, and they hate it. The powers that be hate it. I mean, you look at the EU went out of their way to try to ban memes last year.
Wow.
They tried to ban them. I'm not kidding, and they used copyright law to do it, trademark law.
Well, we
And,
often said I was born in Europe, and so in Germany, and I look at this as one world order is on the way, and it always scares me.
I can't stand the EU.
Scares
I'm not.
me.
I'm.
So what's-
all these globalists? It's bad news.
So what is what is, I guess, your number one goal, and what has been your most successful hit in service of that goal that you think you've done?
Well, I would say our goal is to just try to wake people up that are on the left and show them the truth about the left and persuade them to be free thinkers. To basically kind of just take the red pill. It's kind of like in the Matrix. Like, do you want to know the truth? This is it. That's why we say red pill. It really is. I mean, the media lies, academia lies. It's the technocracy's got everyone by the balls now with social media. I mean, there's these people actually think that Republican Party is a party of racism. Like, the KKK was the terrorist wing of the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
Like Birth of a Nation was played in the White House
By Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah, by a Democrat president. This isn't rocket science. It's not. It's Jim Crow laws, Democrat. KKK, Democrat. Guys that killed Lincoln, Democrat activists. Guys that killed Martin Luther King, Democrat activist. You know, it's not.
But now you're talking a change in history. And it's just like when we look at Muslims. There's been a change over the course of hundreds of years where parties and people evolve. The party of today's Republicanism is not the party of Lincoln.
I agree that the Democrat
There's
Party's
been tremendous
evolved.
It has evolved, but
No.
the Republican Party has also changed quite dramatically. I mean, they came out of the Know-Nothing Party, which were totally against any kind of immigration. They were one of the more radical wings of the parties at the time against the Whigs. We've seen complete change as they became Republicans, and they went on.
It's good that they turned on the Whigs, because if they didn't turn on the Whigs, they never would have freed the slaves.
Well, that's exactly right. I
The
agree with
Republican
you.
Party was founded
changed.
to free the slaves.
But it changed.
When?
And that, well, you watch it now and what it has become. Why does it simply stand there as a party of
Yeah, but hold on.
Let's just go back to the other.
Well, you say it's changed, and why does it stay that way? I agree with Galt here in the sense that I really do not buy into this notion that the Republican Party changed, because there's no measurable quantifiers that support that. I mean, look at Dinesh D'Souza's documentary, and he tracks the careers of every single one of the Democrats during the Southern the Southern strategy. That there was a demographic shift of a lot of African Americans moving north into the industrial centers, and they started registering as Democrats instead of the abolitionist movement of the Republican Party, because the FDR programs, during the Great Depression and so on and so forth, were promising work, and those were generally given by Democrats. And I mean, LBJ went out door to door, community organizing. I mean, like ballot harvesting on steroids
He ruined
to
the
get
black
African
family.
Americans to get on these welfare programs during the war of poverty. I don't really think the Republican Party changed as much as it just kind of like Republicans stink. Okay, they don't do their
Agreed.
job. Okay,
Agreed.
like they don't do their job. And if an old man is sitting on his porch yelling at the kids running by to get off my lawn, he may not change for 20 years.
that was Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, that might have been Clint Eastwood.
I agree with you that Republicans haven't changed much in their values, but the party has been taken over by corporate entities, and there's a bunch of shills in there. Like I'm not a fan of most of the Republicans. I like Justin Amash and Mike Lees and Trey Gowdy and stuff, but most of them they're just Democrats that want lower taxes, or they're pro-Second Amendment. They're not much different. But when I say Republican Party, I don't like. I believe in a republic. I believe in the individual. I don't like democracy. I don't like when the 51% can outvote the rights of the 49%. I don't like that. That's not right.
Because 49% can control the 51% because of an archaic system that we have in place.
The electrical. He's making reference to the electoral college, not the electrical college. So here's a quick question that I have. I mean, I was just thinking as you're saying this that I don't buy into this media narrative that, Republicans are now the party of the racists. It used to be the Democrats, but now it's the Republicans because there has to be half the country's racist. I don't agree with that, but I definitely know for a fact, especially having dealt with whether it's the Knight campaign or other campaigns that I helped out with in New York and in Florida and other areas, Republicans suck at marketing themselves. And that's why I wanted to get Galt on the show here, because in reality, he's the only one that I see around Los Angeles, except for an occasional Sabo hit, actually doing some marketing for what is conservatism. And there's never been a time in American history where there needs to be a better fusion of good liberal values and good conservative values. In fact, we're going to talk about some of these hits, the hits that he's most proud of, at the end of this really quick, brief commercial capitalist break.
Nice.
Don't touch that dial. We're going to come back. We are in studio with Galt of the Faction, conservative street artist, my co-host Mark Murphy, and myself, Cardon Ellis. This is Problem Solver Politics.
You choose your dry cleaner for convenience. Maybe it's time to choose a dry cleaner that is not only convenient, but does quality work at a reasonable price. Town Cleaners. They're in the center of our valley, and they offer free pickup and delivery anywhere in Santa Clarita. Town Cleaners, a dry cleaner who goes the extra step. Their stringent quality control ensures the highest quality cleaning and pressing for your garments. And now through February, save 50% on all dry cleaning orders. Town Cleaners on Soledad and Rainbow Glen.
Finding the right lawyer can be a challenge, but in Santa Clarita, there's no need to search when there's Hacker Law Group, Santa Clarita's premier litigation firm. Jeffrey Hacker has represented celebrities, financial institutions, accident victims, real estate developers, realtors, contractors, businesses, nonprofit organizations, and other individuals and companies with their legal challenges. Mr. Hacker is one of Santa Clarita's leaders, consistently listed as one of our most influential. When everything is on the line and you need legal counseling, visit hackerlawgroup.com.
Santa Clarita's hometown station.
Now FM, 98.1 FM and AM 1220, your hometown station.
All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. We are live in the KHTS studio with your host, Cardon Ellis. That's me, and
Mark Murphy, attempting to restore civility to the problem-solving conversation.
And we are joined by the conservative street artist, Galt of the Faction. Galt.
Yes, that is me.
That's you. All right,
It's a
awesome.
true story.
So we're talking about we're talking about some of his conservative street art. Each one of these, the executions of one of these projects is called a hit. So we're just going to jump right in really fast. If you
Don't stay away from this because you think it's conservative street art. A lot of this is creative genius that points out the holes in the whole political process in the current system. I love this stuff.
Actually, yeah, that's true. Let's not call it conservative street art in this show. Let's call it political street art. I think that's fair.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
political street art.
Fair
okay,
enough.
excellent. So if you can watch us on Facebook Live, we recommend you jump on the Facebook Live feed right now because we're going to describe some of these hits that he's done that are genius. I don't know if you looked on the news, but the Bill Maher billboard that was hacked with an NPC meme, that was Galt in the Faction, and the false Donald Trump stars was Galt in the Faction.
Well, Bill Maher said it was the best building marketing blitz he's ever had.
Yeah.
Very successful and boosted his numbers.
Yeah, I think he
Okay,
was
so we're going to
happy.
put up on the Facebook feed some of these projects here, and why don't you just tell us which ones you're most proud of, and what your goal is in doing this political street art, and which one of these projects you think, or which one of these hits has best served that goal.
So the reason we do it is just to jam up the culture and to, one of my buddies that he does this with us. He made a good point that Bill Whittle told him a few years ago, was that street art has the lowest barrier of entry, into the media, into the mainstream culture. And it's hard to get big ideas out there if they're not approved, by the corporations or by social media or whoever it is. Well, we're kind of slipping under the door this way. So the ideas we want to get out are ideas about real liberty, free thought, freedom of speech, Americanism, things like that. You asked which one I'm most proud of. Well, the one that got probably the most ink was probably the fake Trump stars. That thing went huge. But the one I'm most proud of, I think, is the Kanye West one that I did. That was in I was in New York last year visiting some friends, and it's kind of a crazy story. But on a Saturday morning, I got a call from my buddy in LA, and he says, "Man, you got to go see what Kanye West tweeted." And I went and looked, and he says, "I like the way Candace Owens thinks."
Boom, right there.
Yeah, and I knew what he was talking about, that viral video where she was calling out Black Lives Matter, and I said, "Oh man," we both said, "It's over. Like, they are going to go after him. We got to jump on this." So we kind of tricked the media into attacking him. So this was a Saturday night, so we planned it. I hit Kinko's and printed out all the posters, and Sunday night I hit New York, my friend hit LA, and then another one of our guys hit Chicago. And you can see those posters. It says, "Keep America Great, Kanye 2024." And our plan, right? The plan, we said, okay, if we can trick the left-wing media into attacking him, he's going to defend himself. And the reason we wanted to do is we started to figure out he was starting to wake up. He was reading, he was watching Jordan Peterson videos. He was listening to Scott Adams. At one point, he's quoting Thomas Sowell.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I almost kicked over my computer when I read that. What? You're quoting Thomas Sowell? So we said, you know what? We got to jam this up. So we did it, and we bombed those cities. And the next day, the media started attacking him.
Just please describe these posters.
Yeah.
They're
So
fabulous.
So let's see.
I mean, this one of the bus station guys,
Can't
just
see anything. Yeah. Okay. So that one's in Brooklyn, like in the tube in the subway. So that thing, I didn't have my big printers here in New York with me, so I had to print all those on like 11 by 17s and build them by hand at a Kinko's in Times Square, and then run around New York with a backpack and an Uber, dodging cops, and we glued those up everywhere. But
I mean, these look like legit campaign posters. I mean, if
That was
I
the
ran
point.
a PR firm for Kanye West, it would literally come out looking like this poster.
The great thing about this was that, so the media started attacking him, and he started defending himself. He started putting on his MAGA hat. He started tweeting out. I included some tweets in there. He says, you guys can't hold me down. I'm a free thinker.
Yeah.
Kanye 2024. Right there. He's retweeting the picture I took. Right there. It was great.
Yeah.
And look right there. You get to meet that right there. That's Kanye tweeting out what I put. And it was
right.
great. So immediately they started attacking him. And we said, man, if he's going to defend himself, that'll be great. So he started doing it. Peter Thiel reached out to him. All these people started reaching out to him. And I can tell he's reading more right-wing stuff. And then we said, well, if the Kardashians defend him, then it's over. Because then we'll get the pop culture approval. Boom. Kim Kardashian defends him and attacks the media. And I included that right there. Wow. There it is.
Wow.
And, she said, he's a free thinker. Stop trying to stifle him. And then Donald Trump Jr. retweeted what she wrote, and he put, "I'm with her," kind of trolling Hillary. And it just took off, and everyone started condescending, saying, he's mentally ill. What's wrong with him? He's a sellout. Black Twitter said, if you read on Black Twitter, they said, it's the worst day ever for us. They didn't know what to do.
Well, I looked at that, and I asked you about, did you ever have a seminal moment? And we talked about Dave Rubin's seminal moment, because I love moments where you can point to that in history, and you can say, okay, that was the moment when. I mean, we can point to Stalingrad, and we can say that was the moment when the German advance was stopped. The Russians did it. They had the guts to stand in the face of evil, and they did it. You
With
can look
all of our supplies, tanks, and guns. And such.
Yeah.
But we typically leave that out.
Okay, so they had some moral support, all right, but still, they're the ones that were fighting the good fight, and that was the seminal moment. I like when Nietzsche said God is dead. I didn't like that, but you can point to that and say, okay, that was a philosophical seminal moment where this anti-Christianity was happening, where the crumbling of the corruption of the churches was getting exposed.
It's like now.
And I really look at the black vote in America. They're voting 98% Democrat lately, and it's like this castle that has been built. But if you study medieval warfare, they would always tunnel underneath the castle walls and then put up supports and then burn them, just because they knew if you could get one crack, the second the foundation cracked, the whole thing would come tumbling down. And I looked at Kanye West's tweet of, I like the way Candace Owen thinks.
Yep.
Not at all an endorsement of any specific piece of policy or individual of any kind of policy or individual law, but just I like the way she thinks. That was just a crack in the foundation. And I declare now on this radio show, I think within 10 years, at least 50-50 split in the African-American vote.
So
I think at least 50-50 split, if not a flip entirely.
What you haven't pointed out is which way that split will go. Who is that other party? Because I'm not so convinced that we need the current left and the current right. We've got to have something else.
Yeah, we could.
Well, we've got an author. I'm going to have to look up the name of the book. I'm totally blanking on it right now. But we have an author that's coming up next week who is going to be interviewing with us, who just wrote a book about eschewing these old left and right kind of ideas. I'm going to get that for us before the...
Well, this is like the Whig versus the Know-Nothings. I mean, we're really going back in time, or the Federalist or the et cetera. But you bring art up that tries to point out those flaws. You're trying to hit it. Like in this thing, you're defending free speech.
100%.
And we need that. Now, some of the others that you've done, like The Hit, describe what you're doing in there, because it's important.
Well, on one hand, we're trying to get people to think. Right, and on the other hand, we're actively trying to change the culture too, right? Where it's not just about thinking; we want to make active change, right? So we don't have political PACs and money, so we do it this way. Like the thing with Kanye, the plan was ultimately like, let's try to get the left to attack him. He'll defend himself, and then he'll wake up black, because he's approved by black people. They will listen to him, right? So he did that, and I think the approval rating for Trump at the time this happened was 11%. Within 2 weeks, it went to 22%.
Wow.
And then now it's upwards of 36%. Bill Whittle did a great video. If anyone's listening, go to YouTube, type in Bill Whittle Kanye. It's Whittle. And he explains perfectly why what Kanye did was such a huge thing, because he's cool and he's got the stamp of approval for millions and millions of kids. So as soon as he mentioned these names, these free-thinking names, boom, these people are now free to go look into it. Before, they would have got shunned by their peers and their community, you know, but he gave that stamp of approval, so it was a big deal.
Well, I think the one thing, too, you were talking about the Trump stars. I don't care what party's in office. We should not be defacing these sidewalks, these tributes to these great people who've accomplished something in life. Whether we like it or not, he was a celebrity, but the president was a successful Hollywood icon.
Agreed.
That should be supported and encouraged no matter what. Now, I may be totally opposed to his politics, but that's part of our process. We have to defend that right. It's critical.
Yeah,
and
but
you're pointing some of that out.
You have a stoic mindset where you believe in, like, you compartmentalize things and you give credit where credit's due.
I try to.
These days with, you know, it's basically postmodernism has snuck in, and now, you know, everything is viewed through the eyes of power and racism, you know, and so...
Or the eyes of under 30-year-old politicians with very little limited experience on the far left and maybe the far right that suddenly are icons and the, quote, leaders of the party. No, they're not the leaders of the party. We're making them false leaders of a party.
Well, our technology is keeping all these baby boomers alive until their 80th year in politics. I mean, we've got some serious dinosaurs on both sides here. You look at the presidential election. I'm sorry, on the Democratic side, they're like, we're so tired of America being run by old white men. And I'm looking at Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton,
Pelosi,
Jim Webb. I mean, Martin O'Malley was looking like the young buck out there, and he's easily qualifying for any pension in L.A. County. You know?
I listened to the Democratic Party condemn the Tea Party candidates when they came into the White House, their lack of experience, their lack of understanding of the political process. And then I looked at the incoming Democratic Party, and I'm going, what? What's the difference between those New Dems and those Tea Party?
What these elitists don't understand
Nothing.
is that the average American doesn't want we don't want career politicians. I want free market people who ran businesses. The founding fathers wanted us to take part in this. They didn't think people were going to be in there for 50 years, 40 years like Jerry Brown. No, I want government shrank by like 80%, and I want normal people who understand checks and balances to run the government the same way that they run their households. All these hypocrites with their overspending, Pelosi and all these people, you think they run their normal lives like this at home? If they did, they'd be bankrupt on the street.
Well,
they couldn't pay their mortgages.
Let's point out on the right side, we've got a president who went bankrupt, 5 times? The best way to run a casino is to basically take it down.
Yeah, I talked to a good friend of mine who's a major venture capitalist, like European, huge, multi-billion-dollar companies bought and sold. And I asked her opinion on that. I said, objectively, what do you think on Trump going bankrupt a couple times? She says,
a couple?
Or I don't know, however many, a few times, right? And she said, doesn't matter. Like, at that level, when you own hundreds of businesses and you're playing at that level, that happens.
It's like video game people. It's like video game people are like,
you can't bat 1,000 when you're operating at that level.
Yeah. Well, there's a certain philosophies of how you run businesses, but and there are those of us in business who never believed in bankruptcies as a general course of action, or not paying our vendors.
I understand.
That was just a philosophy.
No, I get it. I understand.
So that's the battle. But I think in both cases, what we're looking at is people. We want radical thinking, free thinking to come in, but we also need experienced people who know how to move that process and try and compromise. But I can't believe that we don't have compromise on either side. So we're in quagmire.
What about today? Or yesterday? He offered them DACA, and they immediately turned it down.
He offered them DACA, but still requiring they spend the money on the wall, and they won't do that.
Isn't that a compromise, though?
That's
like
that's
the essence of compromise. I'll give you what you want for a price.
No, he didn't give them DACA. He gave them temporary DACA, which is 3 years. That's the same exact thing we had before.
But here's my point.
It should never have been done for 3 years.
It's not what he wanted. He offered it, so he was willing to make a compromise, and they said no. But everyone knows that they were never going to accept it.
Exactly.
Everyone knows. So
it's not a compromise.
He's really
offer.
trying to compromise, but they don't want to.
No, they won't compromise any more than they did before, because when they did meet with Vice President Mike Pence, and they came to agreement, we suddenly ran into this wall of let's withdraw the deal, which is his normal approach to doing a lot of things. I'm going to change the deal. You then can't come back and do a partial compromise that's not a compromise. If I walked in and said, okay, look, guys, I'm going to do $3 billion on the wall and security systems and all that. I may protect our ports. You got to remember, I was born in Germany. I do not like seeing anybody wall my people in. When you wall my country in, I don't like it because you can't tell me it's to keep people out. It keeps people in, too. So I look at that and go, I don't want to spend a dime for that. But if you walk in and said, let me spend $2.5–3 billion on security systems and ways to stop all this coming in from airports, et cetera, then I'm going to say, we'll probably vote for that. But that's compromise.
Well, but why?
Well, that's your type of compromise. And once again, you're a lot more rational than Nancy Pelosi and Chuck
here's
Schumer.
The thing.
Or a certain guy named President Trump. I mean, or Vice President
I
Trump.
I would never offer Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer to be a co-host on my show because I know they are literally incapable of thinking rationally. The way Chuck Schumer lambasted the Republicans for the Merrick Garland nomination, you know what I'm saying? And then turns around and does the exact same thing during the Brett Kavanaugh. I mean, the amount of hypocrisy on many leaders of both sides is tantamount to just it's obscenity at this point.
I think everything we're talking about is actually nonsense because everyone knows the truth, and the truth is that the Democrats will accept nothing but full amnesty because they want all the votes from those people.
They want a permanent underclass.
Wait, Chuck Schumer used to want a wall. He used to call them illegal aliens only a few years ago. Now he doesn't. And all the American people see that. They say walls are immoral. Walls can't be immoral. Walls are inanimate objects. If a wall's immoral, your door on your house is immoral.
But they keep you in.
No,
I come
the
from
wall
Germany.
is not getting built. The wall, whether it's digital, whether it's drones in the sky.
You're moving the goalpost. You're moving the goalpost.
But I do not want to see a wall.
Give
me security systems. Take out the cartels. Go after the airports or go into the ports.
They're not mutually exclusive.
You can
do both.
But see, you have to say, I'm going to use the money for that in this governmental system.
Now
you can't say I'm going to build a wall
because
that's what he's going to do.
Okay,
Wait, but walls work.
They don't even begin
to Israel.
Address the problem. Oh, which is a horrific example of how it doesn't work.
But how can you be opposed to a wall in a sovereign nation? It's a wall.
Because I was in Germany. I saw what a wall is. A wall.
Yeah, but the difference is that wall was built. That wall was built to keep people in Eastern Berlin, not to keep people out.
Yeah, people weren't trying to get in East Germany.
The wall was built by the socialists. It wasn't built by the capitalists.
It was built by the
communists.
Do you
have a door? I mean, you have a door in your house, right?
Thing.
What I'm talking about here is a difference of a country where more of the people are coming in, not across the border, but from other areas. They're coming in.
Fine, address that as well.
Do that instead.
Well,
do that first.
But that's not.
They're not doing that.
That's not the case that's being made.
But that's compromise.
That's your compromise.
No, that's just
now. I have a tendency to agree with you. I think there's plenty of areas where a wall just doesn't make sense. It'd be better to have drones in the sky, or it'd be better to have.
Thank you. I love that.
There's tons of places where I think a little bit more.
$5 billion is nothing.
Okay, but here's the problem with that, Mark.
True.
This is the problem, and this is the reason why, to a certain extent, I heavily support Donald Trump in his half of this shutdown argument, because you and I both agree that, yes, a 4,000-foot wall isn't the best solution when there's technology that can do just as good, if not better, a job, and 60% of the people that illegally come here are overstaying visas in airports, and a wall wouldn't stop that. So I think all three of us agree that, there's different ways of addressing the immigration problem. But here's the problem. Ronald Reagan was told by the Democrats back in the 80s, look, we're going to give you that holistic, integrated approach to border security. You just got to make sure you give us amnesty. So he signs amnesty for 4 million people, and guess what? They don't build the wall. They don't do any of those measures. He kept his end of the bargain.
It was his number one regret.
Yeah, he said it was his number one regret. So he took 3 steps towards the Democrats. They took 0 towards him. Then Bush, 2 decades later, signs amnesty for another, 6 or 7 million illegal immigrants who are here under the promise of what? The Fence Act. It was like not the Fence Act, but increased border security, both physical and digital, was promised. An augmentation of the E-Verify program was promised, and none of that happened. So if I'm President
has
Trump,
been a very effective system.
No, it's been effective, but it wasn't augmented in the way that the Democrats promised to do it. The natural technological advances of the internet.
But again and again, both parties have failed.
But which
to
party has
solve
taken a
this
step
problem.
closer? Who is the Gang of Eight? The Gang of Eight, were they a bunch of Democrats trying to make comprehensive reform? No, it was Marco Rubio and his crew. Who's the pastor? Whenever I talk to Mexicans, I love this because I speak Spanish and I speak to my Mexican buddies, my Guatemalan buddies, all of my friends from Ecuador, and there's this idea in the Latino community that Trump is racista, Trump is racist, right? And I tell them, and they say Republicans are racist. It's now become this thing in the Latin community that Republicans are racist. And I tell them, who was the last president to sign amnesty? Who was the last president that actually granted citizenship to people that have been here for 20 years? It was George Bush, Republican. And who was the last president before that? It was Ronald Reagan.
Well, this is where Galt comes in.
Does anyone?
Because you've got to prove, you've got to show through your art and make a point of saying you can't be making statements like Republicans are racist, because that is flat out false.
Of course, it's false. But they've been saying this for 100 years, and they've to the left, right? They believe in a utopia ultimately. Okay, so when you believe in a utopia, the ends will always justify the means. Okay, so that's why you can do these things that they can lie,
ruin
they can
people's
cheat,
lives,
they can steal. You can have hundreds of millions of dead bodies from leftism. You can take people's money by force. You can you know what? As long as they can get to the utopia, it's all worth it. You got to crack a few eggs and make an omelet.
But see, that's the exact thing I could point to with what happened to the right in my own Germany, when I saw what the right did there.
When was this?
There was something called the 20s and the 30s into the 40s.
That was wait, hold on.
What you
mean the
is-
National Socialist German Workers' Party? That's not right wing. Those guys. He was a socialist. He was
the furthest thing from a socialist. He had a label that he applied
it's in the name.
It doesn't matter that it was in the name.
He loathed capitalism.
He hated communism. He used capitalism and had senior capitalists running his war effort all the way through it. His people were making a fortune at the senior level off this. Well, in studying this history in great detail, what I really found fascinating about it's in the labels. Just as you've been pointing out in your art, it's labels.
Okay, we got to take a brief commercial capitalist break right here. We're going to come back in 30 seconds to a minute. This is Problem Solver Politics.
Daily Imprints is the premier one-stop shop for custom embroidery, screen printing, and promotional products in the Santa Clarita Valley. Owners Joe and Dana have provided KHTS with quality embroidered company shirts for over 3 years. If it's new business cards or promotional products you need to enhance your image, Daily Imprints is the choice for you. Located on Lyons Avenue, stop by or call today, 661-678-0508.
Healthcare can be difficult if you're underinsured or have Medi-Cal. Samuel Dixon Family Health Center can help. Services are available on a sliding fee schedule. The mission of the Samuel Dixon Family Health Center is to give the Santa Clarita Valley access to affordable, quality primary care. There are 3 locations to serve you: Canyon Country, Newhall, and Valverde. Go to sdfhc.org for more information and to find the location most convenient for you.
The SCV Pregnancy Center has provided compassionate, personalized, and confidential care for 30 years.
Angela Bennett, CEO.
Positive urine test does not confirm pregnancy. It only indicates you may be pregnant. Only a doctor can diagnose and confirm pregnancy. If you used a home test and need answers immediately, the SCV Pregnancy Center will provide immediate pregnancy test results and uses the latest technology to confirm and diagnose pregnancy. The center specializes in pregnancy testing and confirmations. Make your appointment today.
Visit scvpregnancycenter.org.
All services free and confidential.
Now FM, 98.1 FM and AM 1220, your hometown station.
All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. We are live in the KHTS studio. I am your host, Cardon Ellis, with
Mark Murphy, adding problem-solving civilities to the conversation, but we break the rules.
We also brought in my hot wife.
Hello, I'm Brittany Ellis.
Brittany Colley Ellis, who's the political poetess of Santa Clarita. Now, we're going to have to cancel the poem. We're going to have to cancel the top 5 memes of the internet this week because we are engrossed in this conversation that we got going on with Galt of the Faction, a group of political street artists, some would say conservative street artists, who are really pushing the envelope of the political conversation right now. If you're just tuning in, these are the guys that actually totally trolled Bill Maher and hacked his poster. Look up Bill Maher billboard hack, and that's the Faction. They're also the ones that put down the fake Donald Trump stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and made the Kanye 2020 posters. I mean, you got to look these guys up and follow them. Before we continue, Galt, how can people find you?
On social media, on Twitter, you can find me at twitter.com/thefaction1776. The same on Instagram, thefaction1776.
I think it's the underscore.
No,
faction,
no underscores. Just, I mean, we're just the Faction, but someone had it, so we had to add a 1776 because we're not commies, you know.
Okay, yeah.
Unlike your host.
Like my co-host. All right.
And then and then we've got a PayPal if people want to help us out. You know, it's the same address. You can go to paypal.me/thefaction1776 if you want to help us out.
Awesome. So my wife Brittany actually was the conductor of the Trump train.
Oh
I really don't think there was somebody else that had adopted Donald Trump's presidency and presidential candidacy, I should say, earlier on.
I got you on the train.
Earlier in the
you were saying
the year.
You were saying you were okay with the woman driving because it was on the tracks. She couldn't crash it. That's what you were
it's on
saying
the
earlier.
tracks. Yeah. I'm right now. My brain's trying to figure out how I answer that question so I get the least amount of letters from the crazy feminists. But anyway,
You've lost.
Yeah, I've lost. Okay.
See, but I am a true feminist about equality, so everyone can get hit on the jokes. That's what it is.
That's true. That's true. We need
no
equal
bigotry
opportunity
no
offenders.
soft bigotry of low expectations. None.
I love this guy. He just used my quote: "Soft bigotry of low expectations."
Yeah.
You're dealing with another genius,
Reagan.
Mark. What's going on?
I know, this is scary.
So Brittany is the one that turned me on to you. She's the first one that showed me your hit of the Donald Trump star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She had a quick question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what is the piece of art that you're most proud of, and has one ever changed the needle?
Like
I said earlier,
change the needle in the conversation. Okay, have you ever felt like you changed the conversation with a piece of art?
Kanye one for sure did because it upped it actively helped the vote, which was huge. We did some Sanctuary State and Sanctuary City hits that were pretty funny. I think those helped. We did the first when April last year we did Malibu Sanctuary State.
We'll describe these. What are these? Cody, can you throw these up?
This is really fun.
Can you throw these up, Cody?
Okay, so that one's the Sanctuary State. There's one that says Malibu Sanctuary City. We did 2 on the entrances and the exits of Malibu on PCH, and one said, it said, what does it say? It says, because our beach community needs cheap labor, dude. And then the other one says, what does it say? Cheap nannies and gardeners make Malibu great. Boyle Heights, not so much.
Now these look like official signs. They look like they are the real thing.
I mean,
with
guys,
beautiful script.
That's how we do it. When you got nerd, punk rock, idiot, just people with autism making this stuff, right? We tweak out and we make it perfect.
Okay,
that's how you're gonna troll everything. We trigger the left, and the more we can make them angry, the more it's a payoff for us. The more we can move that needle. So, we care about our quality, right? We want to make feminists scream and people yell at us and call us racist, and that's what we do.
Wow. I mean, for those of you that can't see the feed right now, just let me describe. They made a sign out of metal that literally on the freeway. I probably wouldn't have even read it because it looks like there's the seal of California, the seal of the county on there, and it literally says official sanctuary city. And then what's this one right here? I want to read those 2 again. It was like cheap.
It said cheap nannies and gardeners make Malibu great. Boyle Heights, not so much.
I mean, this is
because
brutal.
We were inspired. There was an article from the LA Times where the old mayor, the mayor pro temp, her name was Rosenthal. There's a quote in LA. I included the caption in there. She actually said, "Our population," it says something like the comfort of our population depends on Hispanics.
Well, I mean, I got a huge problem with this. As a man that lived in Latin America for 2 years, most of the time when I'm talking with Latinos, my biggest frustration is, don't you see the abuse that you are enduring? Like, you are being forced into permanent underclass status by an immigration system that has no political or economic motivation to make you an equal player on this playing field. As long as you are illegal, you can only be paid cash by a dude who's going to be taking advantage of you by charging massive margins, so much so that he doesn't mind taking the tax hit on your labor because it's so inexpensive, and he's making millions. These contractors go in and bid $45,000 on a pool, give $1,000 of it to the guy actually digging the ditch, and walk away with a $20,000 margin. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, who cares if you lose that $1,000 when you're getting a $20,000 profit off of it? I mean, it is brutal what they do, and the thing that enables it is not Republican racism. It is the economics of a permanent underclass. And you have to ask yourself, who was the Roman, Cody, where whenever he was a judge and somebody was shot or something was stolen, he would come in and he had that Latin phrase where it basically just said, who does it advantage? What's that quote?
I don't remember his name, but it translated English to whose benefit or to whom's benefit.
Yeah, to whom's benefit. So you have to look at our immigration system, and you have to say,
all of the money.
Yeah, to whom's benefit. Let me tell you, not me. I would love it if a lot of these hardworking Latinos could become U.S. citizens so they could get their license in my company, but they can't get licensed if they're not a U.S. citizen and they don't have a driver's license. They can't get a driver's license, and they can actually have 15,000 of them slip into our voting database, quote, on accident, all right? But when it comes to be able to give them...
They were former Republicans, I just wanted you to know.
Yeah, yeah. Who's at benefit? And I really, really think that the Democrats are not going for a fix to the immigration system because it's so easy to scare Latino voters who are a very cohesive voting bloc into voting for them because they're fearful of those, quote, racist Republicans, and it creates a permanent underclass. I mean, California is turning into Pan Am of the Hunger Games. Like, economically, we are turning to Pan Am of the Hunger Games, and it's the principal motivator of that is illegal immigration policies that don't allow them to compete with citizens.
Agreed.
But this also takes us right back to, as a nation of immigrants, as with Irish stock
Legal
and German
immigrants.
stock, not necessarily if you speak to my family.
But you know what? The reason, if you distill it down, the reason that people come to America from these other places, the bottom line is because our country is better and has a better culture. And the reason our country is better is because of freedom, and we're a nation of laws. Right? Mexico's got a corrupt third world garbage, economy and government compared to Western nations. And it's sad. They need to fix the problems down there. It's not a problem of the people, it's a problem of the culture.
And also, we're taking all of the good ones that actually could be making a difference. I mean, if
Agreed.
we could actually open up the diplomatic conversation to assist Mexico in having a less corrupt system, and the best of Mexicans could rise to political prominence in their own country, they could start doing what we did in 1776 against the English.
This has happened every time. The best and the brightest come here.
Brain drain.
All right, so unfortunately, we're just going to have to press pause on that button. We're going to have to continue this conversation another time. Okay. Really fast before we go, you guys got to make sure you check out Galt at The Faction. You can find him on Instagram, on Twitter. Give him a couple of bucks on PayPal to keep his hits and his arts going. This has been Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardon Ellis. You were listening to...
Mark Murphy, co-host, and I just want you to know, you need to take a look at Galt's art. It is phenomenal.
All right, and Galt, any last words? 10 seconds.
Yes. Fight the left.
Fight the left. All right. This is Problem Solver Politics. See you next week.